Well, good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Visibility Made Easy. And tonight we are talking about sharing stories and how to share a story within your life, within your business without the shame. Now, often people think that you have to just be a coach or just be an author or just share a story. And I'm going to apologise in advance for the shaky camera. I'm actually holding my camera in my arm. So I'll try not to get excited and do that a lot. And I'll also just spin my Mac round. So as usual, if you're watching but you have never joined before, my name's Jenny Kovacs. I'm known as the Queen of Being Seen because your visibility is one of the most important things to me. You being seen and being heard is the most important thing to me. If you see me glance over like this, it's because I am just checking my computer. So one of the things that I want to do first of all, and I want you to know, is that I can see the screen. I need to know if I can see your comments. So if you're watching this, although you can see me, I can't see you. I get a number count, so if you are watching, if you don't mind just saying hi in the box below, and then that way I can see if everything's working on here as it should be. Now, if that's not the case, give me a thumbs up as well. If that's not the case, you'll see me do this. And the reason that I'll do this is because I am looking down over on the comments. So just checking, and already I can see Namisha's on. She's saying, hey Jenny, and I'm saying hi back to Namisha. So it looks as if to read your comments or any questions, I will look over here. Now tonight's episode is going to be short, sweet and punchy. Reason being, I've got a telephone call straight after this with my lovely Visibility Viber Inner Circle. Those are people that work with me either one-to-one personally, work with me on products or programs that I sell, or are my juicy affiliates. So I will need to be off this line within about 20 minutes or so. So tonight I'm sharing stories. I'm talking about how we share our personal stories without any shame, and how we do that when we're a business, when our story seemingly has nothing to do with our business, or so you might think. How do you share your life stories, the stories of your life, the stories that are things that you learn, the stories that give you insight? So if you're watching this and you know that somebody else within your within your circle of friends, maybe one of your peers, maybe somebody you work with, maybe you know somebody who wants to start a business and they don't know how to really articulate what they do in their business, then stories or metaphors are a really great way to do this. So I'm just going to give you a couple of insights from my own journey, and I've been doing this officially as a self-employed person for 7 years. And before that, I had a vast background in financial services as a training manager, a very senior training manager. So you can imagine that sometimes I would sit in boardrooms, I would sit in sales meetings, I would sit at staff meetings, I would connect with members of customer services, teams like administration teams, even sometimes, because it was financial services, it would be professionals like solicitors, conveyancers and people like that. And one of the things that I came across a lot was people often had difficulty with getting their point across. And what I observed over many years when people are having difficulty in getting their point across is that they would first of all try to explain and struggle and maybe see those furrowed, those eyebrows that kind of, what? Those creases on the forehead. And then if that didn't work, they would maybe talk a bit louder and make their words more pointed, and perhaps that didn't work. So the next thing they would do is go into great lengths, great depths of detail to try and explain in even more detail what they were trying to explain before, which the person didn't understand. They'd get more of this, more furrowed brows. Sometimes one of the easiest ways to explain something is to use a metaphor. But the even easier way that people forget about is to use a story, a real life story from your life. And I've had people over the years say, but Jenny, what if I have a real life story, and what if it causes shame or embarrassment to myself, shame or embarrassment to my family? Or what if it's something that I'm not really supposed to talk about? Or what if it's like too much information? I'm giving away things that are too personal. And you know what it's like, you online, you don't know who people are and they could be watching you, and I've heard everything. So tonight I wanted to share a couple of different ways in which you can start to draw out your own life stories to help your visibility. It could be to help your business or to help your career. So the first thing that I want to start by saying is one of my deep values is integrity. I do not ever condone making up a story or lying just to get a point across. If it hasn't happened to you, don't share it. If you're relaying the story of somebody else that you've heard from someone else and you have their permission to, then by all means share it. And let your viewer, let your listener know, let the person in your audience know where the story came from. Allow yourself to share, allow yourself to spread that story. So last week I went to a funeral of a family friend, and on Monday I actually did a Monday motivation around this, because this could be a tricky subject. You know, this lady was the most wonderful lady you would ever have met. You know, very wise woman, not a woman of many words, but when she spoke, you listened. Now this woman was 92 years old, so some would say that she had a really great innings. But, you know, she's left behind her children, she's left behind her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, lots of friends and family who absolutely adored her. So you might think it would be slightly inappropriate to share a story around that event. But actually, here's what happened. And here are just 3 things I'm going to share with you to invite you to do this, to pluck out your own stories in your life. So the first thing was, I was at a funeral, but this funeral was to celebrate her life and wasn't morbid around her death. So the first thing to do is to make a decision when you identify a story that you might like to share. Make a decision as to which element of the story you want to share, because a story has many facets, you know, and for those of you that are into stories as a child and even as an adult, a story has a beginning, a middle and an end. So make a decision on which part of the story you want to tell is the first thing. Now the second thing is think about which part of that story has a correlation to the point that you're making. So if you're a furniture maker, for example, and you want to share a story, a life story, while you're speaking about your business, number 1, as I say, don't make it up. Make sure it's a true story. Number 2, decide which part of the story illustrates or demonstrates the point that you want to make. So once you've decided on that and thought about which point it illustrates, you know, how it demonstrates the point that you want to make, it makes it so much easier to choose the correct part of the story. Now, this isn't a right or wrong choice. This is just the thing that's going to have most synergy. So the part of the story that, and sorry if I keep doing this, I'm not rolling my eyes at you or just looking at the ceiling, I'm thinking. I remember once in a board meeting, somebody said, oh, you roll your eyes a lot, don't you? And it's me thinking. So, and the reason I'm thinking right now is I'm thinking back to the story that I told on my Monday motivation, which if you haven't watched it yet has been really well received. Facebook tells me it's like one of the most popular posts that I've posted in a long time. So go over to Jenny Kovac, speaker, trainer, coach, and watch the Monday motivation, because even though it's not Monday, it will still propel you into your week. So after I kind of told this story on Monday, I had a few things to kind of navigate and to think about in terms of how I am going to share the learnings and the insights from how to share a story. So once I decided which part of the story I wanted to tell, then gone on to which bit was relevant, then the final bit was to tell the story. Now, when you tell a story, you can tell it in too much detail, depending on how much time you've got, depending on your audience, depending on if you want them to know that there's more. So let's tackle that if you want them to know that there's more. Perhaps there's a product you sell, perhaps there's a service that you sell, and perhaps it's something that you want to be able to tell that part of the story and lead somebody to the next natural step for them. It's a bit like when you listen to the radio and the DJ says, so after this next record, I'm going to tell you about what happened to me when I went to a house party last night with Prince Charles, for example. So then you're sat in your car thinking, I really need to go into the supermarket and get the shopping, or I really need to, I need him to hurry up because the kids are going to be in the car and I won't be able to hear, or I've got an appointment and, you know, I've got 5 minutes before I need to walk in the door. And what they've just done is like a cliffhanger. A cliffhanger, not a clift, a cliffhanger. So what they've done is they've told you a part of the story which has kept you intrigued and makes you want more. So when I say if you've got a service-based business or a business and you want people to know more, that's exactly what I mean. This isn't starving them from details of a story. This is letting them know that there's more so that it's in a great place for them to go and receive the whole story. Okay? Now, let's say you're worried that you know, of the details of the story. You don't want to give too much information. Well, I was able on Monday just to share my insights from what I learnt listening to the service on Friday. That didn't give any details away. I didn't give any names away. I could have named the children and named the grandparents and named everything else like that, but I didn't. In fact, I was light on the detail because I wanted to kind of, you know, regard and respect, I guess, their privacy. So I was able to paint a picture from my point of view. And here's the most important thing to know if you are sharing a story in your business. It's all about the insights. It's all about the insights that you glean. So if your children do something funny, if, you know, a member of your family does something that's not so funny, if you've got a story to tell that's quite deep yet powerful, you know that you can tell your story without going into detail which discloses the identity of people or any specifics of what they've done. So for example, I had somebody tell me about abuse about 4 years ago now, and they said, how on earth can I stand on the stage and share my story and talk about abuse? There are things that you can do, like give people an inkling, like say something, for example, like, and you can imagine the worst possible thing that can happen to a small child when their parents aren't there and they're put into the hands of trust of another adult. That very thing that you think that they won't do, they did. They were there to protect me, yet it had a different result. Can you see what I mean? So by me saying that, it's the message resonates with the audience, yet you haven't gone into very specific detail. And for some stories, it's appropriate not to, and others, it's absolutely appropriate to. So I hope you found this helpful. If you've got any questions, I'll just check the box just to make sure. If you've got any questions or there's anything else that you need to know, then please do type in the box. If your story is quite a personal story and you want to share it or share anything around it with lots of other very supportive people who are either in business and have been for a long time, experts in their field, that are transitioning through their business, or even that are thinking of starting a business, then why not hop over to the Visibility Vibes Tribe, the Visibility Vibes Tribe. Now the URL is facebook.com, you know, all the W's, facebook.com/groups/be seen, be heard, get visible. And if you click on there, I'll get a notification to know that you're knocking on the door. I'll come on over and I'll let you in. But please note, if you don't have a photo of yourself, or you've got a scary mask face on, or your timeline is full of spammy buy these Ray-Ban sunglasses, please know that unfortunately I'll open the door, I'll say thank you for knocking, but not tonight. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me. And for those of you that are up for learning more about Visibility Made Easy, I'm back here again, same time tomorrow, 7 p.m. UK time. But in the daytime, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, I'm going to be interviewing the lovely Claire Scott, who's going to be showing you how to get your business processes and get your stuff sorted so that you're no longer sleepless, but you're sorted. And she does that all without the use of geeky technology. So if you want to know what kind of systems and processes to put in place in your business, then join us exclusively in the Visibility Vibes Tribe group, where I'll be interviewing Claire at 10 a.m. UK time. and that will be available to watch for a limited amount of time. So thank you very, very much for joining me. I'll just do one more check to make sure there's no more comments, which I don't think there is. So thank you for joining me. And remember, if you know of someone else that needs to share their story, thank you for the love hearts and the thumbs up, which I can't see on the screen, but I can see on my computer. If you know of other people who are thinking of starting a business, have already started a business, or want to grow exponentially and make 2017 the year that they're seen, that they're heard, and that people are flocking to them, then why not share this video with them too? So I'm off to go over and see my Juicy Vibers in our Inner Circle private call. So if you want to know anything more about anything that I do, why not shoot me a message on this page? Lots of love to you, and remember, it's important to me that you're seen, that you're heard, and that you get visible. Lots of love. Bye for now.